Okay, so there's some really popular advice out there in the world of healing trauma and talking about healing at the nervous system level, especially if you have anxiety or you're working on healing childhood trauma or you've identified that you're in some kind of mind body disconnection. And I'm about to share with you something that I have consistently used as a mind body practice with myself going back honestly a couple decades now, that is very powerful, very simple, and totally contradicts this popular advice. Now, it feels important to say that I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist or a therapist. This is something that I just started doing with myself. No one taught this to me. It was based on just noticing what worked for me and what didn't when I was working on healing my trauma in my 20s. So I've experienced really intense sexual, psychological, and emotional trauma in my childhood. I've had, until I healed it, I had decades of anxiety, body-wide tension, digestive issues, and pain, lots of pain. So this is something that I believe is at the heart, at the core of what I've been able to do to heal. And it's something that I still use today because you don't actually have to be in pain or to be healing to make use of the practice I'm about to share with you. But first, what is the popular advice that I'm talking about, that I'm about to contradict? Well, you've probably heard this before, but a lot of people teaching healing at the nervous system level or healing mind-body disconnection will tell you that if you have anxiety or that nervous system dysregulation, to adopt mantras and affirmations like, I am safe, I am loved, I am okay. Right? So we're told to actually say this to ourselves, to the little girl, little boy, the child inside. We're told to say this to our bodies. Now, I don't know about you, but if you've ever experienced trauma and you think that might be at the root of the anxiety or the mind-body tension that you feel, my primary traumas were around my emotions and my feelings not being welcomed. In fact, they were invalidated a lot of the time or received in a way that made me feel like I wasn't seen, who I wasn't okay, and that what I was feeling, I shouldn't be feeling. And honestly, that was the most traumatizing thing for me. For example, I remember many, many times in my teenage years where I would be crying in front of my dad because we were arguing, we were fighting, and I reached a point where anger turned into sadness and I'd start crying, and he would laugh at me. He would literally laugh at me while I'm crying. My tears were funny to him. Well, now that I'm an adult, I know that that's not true. I know that, or at least what I assume to be true, is that his sadness, his emotions were so scary to him that he needed to actually let some pressure off inside. And one of the ways he learned to do that was through laughter. So I understand that now, but at the time that was very traumatizing for me. And another story I can point to is later when I was about 18, I remember going to my mom and actually telling her, and I was really scared to do this. I thought, oh my God, like I'm about to voice something that feels big, but I have to tell someone. And I went to my mom and I said, Mom, I think I'm depressed. And I remember telling it to her very quietly because I didn't even know how to get out the words. And she goes, oh, honey, you are not. And my mom is not an unkind person. I know she didn't mean to invalidate me, but at the time I was like, whew, I'm going to retreat inside. Okay, clearly what I feel doesn't land with the people around me, and it's not really safe to give voice to it. So the reason I'm telling you these stories is because I want to fast forward now. So imagine now that person that I just described, that little girl, that teenager, is growing up, is grown up. I'm a woman, I'm 30, and I have anxiety, and I have body-wide tension, and I'm working on healing my trauma. And really, I'd rather not be feeling this anxiety. I'd really rather not be feeling sorrow or grief, but especially the body stuff, right? The tension, the jaw pain, the digestive issues. So I adopt a mantra and I start telling my body, you are safe, you are loved, you are okay. Well, in a way, this is like adopting the voices of my dad and my mom and the people who wanted me to not feel the way I felt. So I want you to maybe consider for a moment that if you are working at the nervous system level, that your nervous system represents the child who wasn't allowed to feel what you felt, the teenager who tried to express and probably did it really messily because we don't really understand our feelings at that time, right? And maybe you were shamed or scolded or punished for sharing your very real feelings. So now you're grown up and you're telling yourself, that version of you, that it's not actually okay to be anxious, that it's actually not okay to have jaw tension. But those cues, the jaw tension, the digestive issues, the anxiety, are clues that we actually don't feel okay. We don't feel safe. We don't feel loved or seen. So the practice I want to share with you today is pretty simple. It is to name what is and to allow what you feel to be what you give voice to. I feel anxious. I don't feel safe. I don't feel loved. I don't feel seen. I feel invisible. Whatever it is that's coming up for you. This is a very powerful practice. However, it's scary to most of us because, and I'm sharing this from personal experience, it can feel as if you give voice to those things, they will consume you. They will take over. It will be all you know. You will literally be nothing but anxiety or fear or heartbreak or grief and pain, right? So we're afraid that if we give voice to it, it will consume us. I think that is the primary fear. But I have seen miraculous things happen in my own life and people I work with at the nervous system level in person or even online when we have the humility, the honesty, and the courage to simply acknowledge what's true in this moment without predicting that it's going to be true forever, right? If we just let this moment be what it is, what might happen? So that's the practice that I invite you to consider adopting and trying. And again, disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. This is not meant to be advice for how to heal anxiety or cure it in any way, right? I'm sharing something really powerful that has worked for me. So I encourage you to find what works for you. And if anything I ever share doesn't land for you, doesn't resonate, doesn't work for you, it will not offend me one bit if you discard something I say. All right, so I'd really love to hear your comments. And here at the end, I actually want to make a request. I have been telling people in my email community, maybe that's you if you're watching this, that I believe we're getting shadow banned here on YouTube. So your comments and your thumbs ups will really help me out. I'm trying to grow this channel so we can help more people address pain and mind-body disconnection in an all-natural, self-empowering way at home. So every comment and every thumbs up really helps me, with the algorithm and gets YouTube to show this video or other videos to new people. So if you would give me a thumbs up and a comment, that would mean the world to me. I do my very best to respond to every meaningful, thoughtful comment that comes in. So if you do share those thoughtful comments, then I will get in the comment section and do my best to reply to you directly. I want to inspire conversations around these topics, which I think are very important, especially at this time here in 2021. So thank you so much for watching. I'll look for you in the comments, and I'll also look for you next time.